Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for joining me for another 311 palette of the week. Today's featured palette is the Chocolate Bar palette by Too Faced. This is the original Chocolate Bar palette, the first one that kicked off the whole series. And yes, it does smell like chocolate. This is filled with 16 shades. There are 7 mattes and then 9 shimmers slash shadows with a little bit of glitter. So these 2 shades right here have sparkle in them, and then the rest that are kind of shimmery are a little more on the metallic side. Now overall this is a fairly neutral palette. I know you're looking right here at these 2 shadows and saying those aren't neutral, and I agree. I actually, if I had 2 shadows I'd like to switch out in this whole palette, they would be these 2, because they don't really fit well with the rest of the colors going on here. However, all of the rest of the shades I think really give you a variety of looks that you can do that are fairly neutral, fairly light, or deep and dramatic like what I'm wearing here. One other note, I do have another tutorial using this palette, and it is a super simple everyday look, and I'll link that down below. But today I'm bringing you 3 other looks, and I tried to use almost all of the shades in this palette in at least one of the 3 looks. And as always, I will list all of the products and brushes that I used in the description box below. And if you have any other palette requests for me, please let me know in the comment section below. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into look number 1. All right, so I've pulled back my hair to keep it out of my eyes, and I've already applied the Smashbox 24-Hour Eyeshadow Primer. Now going in with a slightly different brush, this is the Morphe M524, and I'm starting off with White Chocolate. You'll see me use this along the brow bone for my highlight shade throughout each of the looks. And then I'm going in with the Sigma E35 and the shade Strawberry Bonbon. This really doesn't show up very much at all on me, but I just wanted something to blend some of the darker shadows into, so I layered that a few times. And then I'm taking the Morphe M504 in the shade Amaretto. This shade has a little bit of shimmer, so I am going to tap off that brush and then just very lightly blend this through the crease. So you can use shimmers in the crease if you just really lightly buff it out through the crease and make sure you tap your brush off. And you can see it just adds a subtle hint of some warmth there. Going back to the Sigma E25 now in the shade Cherry Cordial, I am just tapping this in that outer corner, and this is what I'm going to use to build depth here. This shadow is very pigmented, so you want to just go in small increments and blend as you go. So you can see I'm tapping it there to avoid too much fallout, and then I am going to turn the brush on its side and gradually bring that shade up just a little bit more. You want to be careful not to go too high with this shade. And then going back to the E35 and a little more of Strawberry Bonbon, I'm going to just lightly diffuse the edge of that Cherry Cordial shade. And again, just kind of trying to keep the edge of that soft and well blended as we go. Then I'm going to go back to the E25, and you can go back and forth between your brushes a few times. And then I'm going in with Milk Chocolate on the E35, and again just doing a little light blending just on that outer corner. I'm not going to bring this all the way through the crease. And again back to that E25, so just go back and forth between your brushes until you like the look. And then I'm going in with this Ulta eyeshadow stick, and it's in the shade Rosy Cheeks, and it's just a really pretty soft golden pink shade. I'm using this as a base across 2/3 of the lid, tapping that in, and then I'm going to take the E60 from Sigma in the shade Champagne Truffle, and this is a very kind of white pink frosty shade. It's really pretty, and when you layer it over a pink base, you get a little more of the pink to come through. So that's kind of what I was hoping for, and I layered that a few times. It's very pigmented, just a really brightening shade. Then I'm going to take my finger in a little bit of Amaretto and just kind of soften the edge of where that shade meets our outer corner cherry cordial shade. And then we're going to go in with the E25 and a little more cherry cordial and just kind of soften the blend between all of those shades there on the lid and a little bit through the crease. And then going back with my finger and a little more champagne truffle just to make sure it's nice and bright on the inner corner, and one final blend with the E25. For liner, I'm using this eyeliner from Thrive Cosmetics, and it's Plum, and I had already done one side of my eye, and so I'm doing the other line, and you can see I'm just pulling up the edge of that slightly and then going into the roots of the lashes as we get closer to the inner corner. This is a decent eyeliner. It's not my favorite. I felt like I had to go over it several times to really get it deep and dark as I wanted it. And then I'm going to take this tiny little brush from Sigma and just pull out the edge of that and create just a little bit of a wing and then smooth over the line just to make it blend a little bit better into the eyeshadow. Then I took the Morphe M165 and the shade Black Forest Truffle. This is one of those glittery shades, but the glitter really doesn't translate onto the eye much. So I'm using this right over the top of that liner just to further deepen it. So the liner was a good base, but on its own, I think it works better on the lower lash line than the upper lash line. Then going back to the E25 from Sigma, I'm going to now try and blend that outer corner shadow into the liner because I don't want a harsh line there. So then I'm taking the M506 from Morphe and more cherry cordial just to make sure that that is all blended together. Then taking that liner along the lower lash line, you can see it did transfer very easily here on the lower lashes, so it doesn't transfer as easy over the top of eyeshadow, but on your skin it works well. And then just doing one final blend, and then I curled my lashes, applied my favorite trio of mascara, which I'll link down below. And then for blush, I'm going into this Profusion Blush 2 palette. This is really an amazing palette, and it's only $5 or less. So I'm taking the two shades on an E4 from Morphe. First I'm starting with Lovely, and then I am going to use that deeper shade Lovejoy just on the back portion of the cheek. And you can see this just brings some nice life to the cheeks and makes them look bright and fresh. And then I'm taking the Sedona Lace 919 brush. I love the packaging of this MAC Next to Nothing bronzer. This is in the shade Sun Soaked Bronze, I believe. Sun Soaked Strip, that's what it's called. This is a really nice, soft, matte bronzer. And then I'm going in to the Profusion Highlight and Contour 1 palette and using the shade Heartfelt with this MAC fan brush as my highlight. And it's, again, really good quality face powders here in these two Profusion palettes. So just using that everywhere I typically like to highlight. And then going back to the palette and this e.l.f. smudge brush, I'm going to use a little bit of First Salted Caramel on the lower lash line there just to soften the edge of that line. I like to do this after I've applied mascara and then used a little Strawberry Bonbon. And now I'm going in with the MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot. I did that around the edge of the lips, and then using the NYX Suede lip liner in Soft Spoken, and we're going to create kind of a nice soft baby pink lip for this look. So just going around the edge of the lips, and as you know, that soft ochre paint part just helps everything stay put throughout the day a little bit better. And then for my lipstick choice today, I'm using this one from Maybelline. It is in the shade 450 Romantic Rose. This is just such a pretty pink shade, and the formula on these just really nice, moisturizing, little bit of glossy finish. They're really good quality. And then I forgot inner corner highlight. So going back to the palette and using the E30 from Sigma and the shade Champagne Truffle, and you can see just what a difference a bright inner corner makes. And then I decided, let's go crazy. And I put a little bit of that along the arch of the brow too, just to bring a little extra lift there. And here is our finished look. So you can see there's a soft, subtle bit of pink and purple going on in the lid, but it's still neutral. And I just love how this look came together. Moving on to look number 2, also starting off with the Smashbox 24-Hour Eyeshadow Primer. Now going in, of course, with white chocolate on the same Morphe M524 brush, using this along the brow bone to highlight. And then going in with the M504, and my favorite crease color in this palette is called Salted Caramel. By the way, by the end of this video, you're probably going to be craving all things sweet and chocolatey. The names in this palette are just delicious. So bringing that Salted Caramel shade all the way through the crease, layering that up just to build up the color a little bit, and then going in with the Sigma E25 and the shade Semi Sweet. This is kind of the mid-tone matte brown in this palette, and I'm using this on the outer corner just to build a little bit of depth there. And then I decided I was going to do a halo eye. So I'm also taking a little bit of that in the inner part of the lid as well, and just creating a little bit of a shadow there. I don't do halo eyes too often, but I want to show you how it's done in case you want to do one. Then I'm going in with the Morphe M506 and more of Semi Sweet, and now I'm going to work on really deepening up that outer corner. For me and my eye shape, I like to have the outer corner a little bit darker than what the inner corner ends up being. So that's why you'll see me layer more out here than in the inner corner. Then taking the E25, just kind of blending that softly through the crease, and then more of Salted Caramel on the M504. And again, just making sure that crease stays soft and blended. For the center of the lid, I'm going in with the Makeup Revolution Cut Crease Canvas, and this is the shade Create, and you only need the tiniest little amount of this. If you don't have it, you can use your favorite concealer, and I'm just tapping this into the center of my lid because I want to have a nice bright center and a great base to put our shimmer shade on top of. So now I'm going in with a combination of these two golden shimmery shades. I'm starting off first with Creme Brulee on the E60 from Sigma. This is definitely the more yellow toned gold of the two shades. So I'm starting off first with this one, and then I'm going over the top of it lightly with Marzipan. And you can see just the combination of those two is, for me, kind of the perfect champagne gold color. And then just blending that slightly on the edge. Then taking the M506, and now I am lightly dusting over the edge of that shimmer shade and the inner corner matte shade we have there. And then taking the E55 from Sigma, I'm going in with a little bit of Cherry Cordial because I don't want this brown shade to turn green, and sometimes when you put a dark brown over gold it can turn green. So I did that first, then going in with Triple Fudge on that same brush, I am now going to build up the color here in the outer corner and add just a little more depth and definition. Then I took that same brush, just flipped it over, and I'm using a little bit of hazelnut just to soften the line that is the transition from the gold in the center part of the lid and the matte shades on the outer and inner corner. And then, of course, one more time with the E60 just to make sure that middle part is nice and bright. And then I'll go back with the E25 from Sigma and blend through the crease, and then take a little more Semi-Sweet and just do a little more blending here in the outer corner. So lots and lots of blending. Go back and forth between your brushes, but you'll get there. And then for my lower lash line, I'm using the Urban Decay 24/7 eyeliner in the shade Whiskey, and taking that about halfway across, and then taking the M165 from Morphe. I'm going to start off with Semi-Sweet just up close to the lashes, right over the top of where we put that liner, and then taking Salted Caramel on the inner part to soften that line. For my upper lash line, I'm using my favorite Kat Von D Mad Max Brown liquid liner, and I'm taking it super close to the lashes in the center part of the lid, and then I'm going to wing it out as I get to the outer corner and wedge it up just a little bit. So again, this is to help lift the outer corner. Even though I'm doing a halo eye, it can still look lifted by doing that. After applying mascara, it's time for blush, and I'm going into this beautiful coral blush. It's called Yes Girl. It's from the BECCA palette, and this is the Made by Malika palette. And these shades in this palette are just beautiful. So these are glowy, radiant blushes, but you can see they don't look overly shimmery on the skin. And then for the highlight, I'm going to use the one in the palette. It's called Dusted. And using the the MAC fan brush just to apply that to the usual high points of the cheeks, the bridge of the nose, and the Cupid's bow. And I just love how all of those colors in that palette work well together. Then I'm going to the E30 from Sigma. We got to do that inner corner highlight, and I'm adding more of Marzipan just in the inner corner to brighten that up. And then I already applied the MAC Paint Pot Soft Ochre around the edge of the lips. And for lip liner, I'm using this one from my BoxyCharm box. This is the Appeal Gel Liner in Deep Taupe, and it is dark. This you can use on your eyes or your lips, but I love it for the lips because it's so super creamy. So I went around the edge, and then I'm going to take my finger and just blend that in, and you can see it just really blends nicely into the lips. And then I'm topping it with another gloss from the BoxyCharm box, and this is the Alamar Cosmetics Mother of Pearl gloss in the shade Corazon. And you can see it just adds a really nice hint of some golden shimmer over the top of that lip color and ties in our eyes nicely. And here is our finished look. So still neutral, but that bright pop in the center of the lid just brings light to the eyes, and we're ready for the day. And now on to our third and final look. I'm using a different primer today. I'm trying the CoverGirl Lid Lock Primer, and it actually held up pretty well. I'm also using a couple of new brushes from Sigma. This is the E50 Large Fluff Brush, and I love this brush. You can see how quickly that laid down a good layer of white chocolate. And then I'm using the M504 and the shade Milk Chocolate. I'm using this one through the crease because I wanted just a hint of a cooler tone through the crease. I don't want the crease color to show up hardly at all. So just blending that lightly through the crease and just making sure it's nice and soft, adding a little more depth in the outer corner because we are going to have some darker shades out here. But I don't want the crease color to overtake our look in the end. So then going back with that E50 and just kind of using that to erase the edge. Now we're going straight to the lash line, and this is the plum shade of the Persona 24-Hour Waterproof Eyeliner, and this is a great eyeliner. I really love this. So I'm taking this really close to the lash line in the inner corner and then pulling up the edge slightly. Now we're going to top this with shadow, but I really wanted to have a good base at the lash line for the shadow to grab a hold of. Then I'm going in with the EB21 and the shade Cherry Cordial. So now I'm going to place this right on top of where we placed that liner, and then as I get to the outer corner, I'm going to slowly start pulling that color up. Now what I want to do is to create kind of a frame for the next shade that we're going to use. So I'm pulling this up in the outer corner. You can see creating a lot of lift there and just slowly bringing it up a little bit closer to the crease, and then I'm going in with the M506 from Morphe and more of that Cherry Cordial shade, and now I am softening and building that outer corner color just a little more. Now, our next shade, we're going in with an olive green shade. Now, I am laying down a base. I'm going to show you the difference. This is the Urban Decay Mildew eyeliner. And when you place the shade Gilded Ganache over it, you can see it gives a lot more of a green reflect. Then the Urban Decay Stash Pencil is more of an olive green color, and when you place that same eyeshadow over the top of it, it gives a lot more of an golden olive shade, and that's the color we're going for. So I'm going to now take that Stash Pencil, and right where the end, where the Cherry Cordial eyeshadow ends, is where we're going to start with this pencil, and I'm taking this in further. So I'm still sticking with the same shape, so it's almost like a triangle there, and I'm blending that in with my finger, but I'm being careful not to cover the Cherry Cordial shade. So start where that ends and go towards the inner corner a little bit, and then I'm going in with another new brush from Sigma. This is the E57, and it's just a smaller version of the E55, and I'm picking up now Gilded Ganache and going right over the top of where we laid down that base of that eyeliner, and you can see it's just creating a nice, almost like an angled stripe of olive green right there. So the reason for the base with the eyeliners is to help those colors stay put where we put them. And then I'm going to go back with the 506 and a little more Cherry Cordial just to make sure those two colors blend into each other. Then I'm going in with the E25 and more Milk Chocolate, and just making sure that those two dark colors blend up into the crease nicely. So you'll see, you can still see distinctly both of those colors. And now we're going to go in with the shade Marzipan on the other side of that brush, the E57. And I am now going to press this into the inner corner and then kind of following the shape of the edge of that olive green shade. So just kind of filling in the final gap there with that color, and it's creating this blush olive and burgundy eye, and I just love this combination. So then I go back to Gilded Ganache and on the other side of that brush and just blend those two shades together. And one more time with our crease brush, no extra product to begin with, and then I'm going to add a little bit of salted caramel just to, again, make that edge kind of in the inner part a little softer and blend up into our crease color. Then going back with our little eraser brush, our big eraser brush, and use this just on the inner part of the brow right there on the inner corner. Then I'm going in again with that Persona eyeliner on the lower lash line, going to create kind of a similar pattern down here, starting off with this about halfway across the lower lash line, then taking the shade Stash and taking that in a little bit further, and then just overlapping that plum liner a little bit. Taking the M165 and a little bit of Cherry Cordial, going to go over the top of where we use that plum eyeliner. And then I'm taking this little brush, the E47, and a little bit of Gilded Ganache, and just softly blending that over the Stash eyeliner, and then using a little bit of Cherry Cordial and just making that nice and soft and blended and connect it with our upper lid shades. Now, before going in with my lower lash line mascara, I'm just taking a little bit of white chocolate on this e.l.f. smudge brush just to make sure that lower lash line is nice and soft and blended. And then I'm using for my inner corner highlight a little bit of Marzipan first on my pinky. And then I'm going to go over the top of it with Champagne Truffle, taking the Champagne Truffle in just a little bit further. And then I'll take the E30 from Sigma and blend all of that into our lid shade. For blush today, I am going in with this Getaway Trio. It's so cute. And I'm starting off with Balm Desert. And again, trying out some new brushes from Sigma. This is the F40, the large angled contour, and this really lays down quite a lot of product at once. So you got to go with a light hand, but I'm using that Balm Desert on the back part of the cheeks, and then I used the Balm Springs on the front part of the cheeks. For highlighter, this highlighter is no joke. It's from Persona also, and it's in the shade Zuma, and it's just a really smooth golden glow highlight. It is so beautiful and just a really nice formula. Using that on the cheeks, the bridge of the nose, and the Cupid's bow. And then I'm going to go around the edge with the MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot. I left this clip in here in case you haven't seen me do this and were wondering why I would be using the paint pot around the edge of my lips. It helps everything stay put. Now I'm going to do one of my new favorite lip trios. This is the MAC Lip Liner in Spice. If you saw my Nordstrom anniversary sale haul video, you will have seen this trio that I am demonstrating here. And this is quite a warm brown lip liner, but the other two colors that it paired it with, this lipstick and the lip gloss, this is the shade Dandy Apple, and I just love the combination of these three colors together. This is kind of a pinky beige nude, has a little more color than like creme brulee does. And then this lip gloss is called Saint No Angel, and this just gives a nice little bit of a sheen and a little golden glow on the top of that, and I just love the combination. So all together, this finished look, I love the olive green, that burgundy and blush color. I think this will be great going into fall, and I just love how those shades look distinct and yet blended. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.